I gotta start reading more than one book at a time. That's my struggle right now. Reading one thing at a time.
I read something's better than nothing, but yeah, I understand. Multitask and get more information.
Right.
All right, we live. Let's see. All right, let's go ahead. Clap it up. Shalom, Israel, with Israelite School, Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana, Priest and Officer 5000, Kasar Pakai. This is the Thursday night scripture breakdown for ISUPK, Northern California. As we always start off, are there any questions in the room or questions online? If there's any questions online, type them in the chat. I hope it's shy. Questions in the room? You said you had one, or?
So I have to find it.
Okay. If you do find it, just go ahead and just raise your hand. Let me know when we get to it. All right. Tonight's topic, we're gonna go into talk a little bit about the so-called Northern Kingdom. Why we teach in the ISUPK that the so-called Latinos are Israelites according to the Bible. The so-called Native Americans are Israelites according to the Bible. We're going to go through some of Captain Katazai's book. We came from the East. There's a lot of a glare on that. Let me see if I can get it without the glare. If y'all haven't got that, man. Let's see, the light is shining. There we go, a little bit. We came from the East, you know what I mean? If you go ahead, see that book, Shalom Yabashim Shabbat Chuba Matam Yad. It's on Amazon. You can find it online. If not, contact one of the brothers in the ISUPK. Will direct you where to get one directly from Captain Katazai. And I was talking with a brother before class, and he said this was a topic that was something we can go into a little bit further. So let's get straight to it. Go ahead and have you just gonna dive right into it, man. We're gonna read through this book, try to make it fast, but it's gonna be a lot of reading, and then we'll go to the precepts that I pulled out in this book as well. So before I even get to that, let's talk about, let's go to Deuteronomy 28:1. Then once we get Deuteronomy 28, go to Deuteronomy 27:1 first. All right. Go ahead when you got it.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. And it shall be on the day when ye shall pass over Jordan unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, that thou shalt set thee up great stones, and plaister them with plaister.
Right. So once again, it says, and Moses and the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. The law, statutes, and commandments were the constitution of the children of Israel, and a constitution is developed in order to organize a society, a nation of people. The American Constitution is very important to this nation called America. That the original copy is in a bulletproof glass. If the temperature gets too hot around it, it'll fold underneath and go into an underground basement. It's all types of protections and things they have over the Constitution, because that actual document is how this government is ran. In essence, if they were to destroy that document, they'd have to make a new one before America could continue. Like, America would turn into what? What?
Turn into lawlessness.
That's it right there. Lawlessness. Like, if you ever hear about when people fight for their rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, they say it's unconstitutional what you're trying to do. If they come and try to stop us from teaching on the streets at camp, we would say they're breaking the Constitution of America. And a lot of people, they say these things, throw it around. Sometimes they may use it in the right context. Sometimes they may use it in the wrong context. But in essence, that's the law of the land. That's the ultimate law of the land. All the other laws that come after it are supposed to be based on the Constitution. So, with that being said, in order to organize our nation, we needed a constitution. We needed a book of rules and laws to tell us this is how this goes, this is how that goes. So these laws were given to the children of Israel. Let's drop down to Deuteronomy 28:1.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt not hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments,
right,
which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Right, it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations. So this was the agreement. This was the covenant, the pact that was between the children of Israel and the Most High God. And I always compare this, if a couple years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the YouTube internet was full of conspiracies. Rihanna would drop a video, everybody would be like, oh, this is the Illuminati. Look at her eye symbol. She holding her finger over her eye. And this in the background, the red, whatever, all this different stuff they had on. They trying to make it seem like some conspiracy about the Illuminati. And who knows, man? What they doing is just to get clicks and likes. I saw this new sister. She's not a sister, she's a heathen actually. Doja Cat. She made a video. A whole bunch of demons and all types of goblins and weird stuff in it. Is she a part of some secret society that's giving her the opportunity to make all this money? It's very possible. Or she's doing it because she knows people are going to watch her video and they get more views because it's controversial. So a lot of that was going on a few years back. And one of the things people always like to say is those artists did what. I'm going to try to see. What did they say the artists had done?
Sold their soul.
Oh, yeah, that was right. I was going to ask the sister too. But yeah, no, Most High Christ. They sold to what?
To the devil.
Satan. All right. You know what I mean? So you just raise your hand, you know what I mean? Whoever, I'll call on whoever it is. You know what I'm saying? No, you two out. It's good. Satan. That's what they say. You sold your soul to Satan. You made a pact with the devil. You cut your hand with some blood, or you poured some candle. Who knows what the hell they're talking about? But there's these rumors are going out that that's what's going on. for these people to get a lot of money, a lot of power to be in position. All right. Now, however crazy that is, in essence, I think what it really means is, and what we were taught in UPK, someone selling their soul is when you're willing to do things that you know is wrong or don't sit right in your spirit to get money. That's what selling your soul is. If you know a lot of the women and men, they try to do sexual stuff with them. They say, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. You go in this room with all these people in here, you do that, then you're going to go to the next level. You can have more money, more fame, more this, more that. You selling your soul. They come to a brother, they say, you know, this brother on the streets, he was making songs about drill music, killing everybody. He gets to a point, he's like, man, I want to stop the violence in my community. I don't like this. He goes to the regulator and says, I want to make music more positive. They're like, nah, you're going to have to keep making music like this or we're going to cut you off. So he goes and keeps making music like that. He sold his soul to the devil. He sold his soul to Satan because he's given up his morals, his values, his conscience in order to gain something. So saying all that to say this, read Deuteronomy 28:1. What is the point that I'm trying to make?
Verse 1, And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
right,
to observe and to do all his commandments,
right,
which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Right. So people that was really into that, if you knew about the Illuminati, the Masons, the Rosicrucians, and the Rothschilds and all that, you can understand that concept. You're like, yeah, Jay-Z, he sold his soul. Beyonce, yeah, she's demonic. This nigga, that, all that. Look at the video. Look at all the signs that are showing you that these people are telling you they're evil and they're working with some evil force. Well, guess what? The children of Israel made a deal and a covenant with the Most High God. They sold their souls to the Lord. That's what we did. We came into a pact and a covenant with the Lord. And he said, if you obey these commandments, then I'm going to set you on high above all nations. The same way Satan tell you, you want to have fame, you want to have glory, you want to have any woman you want to have, you want to live in the mansions, all that. All you need to do this, and you'll have all that. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact concept. He's offering you great things to do evil to get them. The Lord saying you do good things and you're going to get these things. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. And so now that covenant is everlasting. It's everlasting. It was forever. We don't get out of this covenant. Our parents, our forefathers sold our souls to the Lord. That's what they did. They gave us up to the Lord. And so drop down to verse 15. All right.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass.
But what?
But it shall come to pass.
Keep going.
If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
right,
to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
And do what?
And overtake
thee. So these curses will come upon the children of Israel if they don't obey these commandments. If they don't honor this contract, if they don't honor this covenant, then these things are going to happen to them. Same thing they tell the celebrities. You took this Illuminati money, you took this Illuminati power, now you want to turn on it, you want to go away from it, then they're going to destroy your career. They're going to set you up. They're going to kill one of your family members. Or if you don't want one of your family members to get killed and try to stop it, then we're going to do this to you. We're going to do that to you. How they always joke about Bill Cosby. They say he wanted to buy NBC. That's how he got set up. Do we teach that? Nah, I think Bill Cosby really was doing it. And that's probably part of it as well. They tell Bill Cosby, you can do whatever you want with these women because you in this group. But as soon as you try to go away with it, away from them, then they take that's protection off of them and set them up, right? So the Lord is saying the same thing, is just on the right-hand side, on the righteous side. You don't want to do right, you want to do evil because they're stopping Bill Cosby because he doesn't want to do evil anymore. Not saying that's a bad example, but in that mind state, if someone tried to do something right, let's say Kanye West was trying to get out of it and do something right, they're gonna take Adidas away from him. They're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. any celebrity that was theoretically trying to get away from it. Maybe even Tupac might be a better example. Let's just say because he died. You know what I mean? Maybe Tupac was trying to do something right and really help the people, and they end up taking his life for it. You know what I mean? But like I said, on the right hand side, on the righteous side, us not doing what's good is what ends up getting us in trouble. Them trying to do good is what gets them in trouble. So it's the opposite. What I'm saying all that to say this. Go to Revelations 11 and 8. All right. This is the overall way that we know that, and I say so-called Latinos. You don't know why we say that. We say so-called Black people, so-called Native Americans, is because these were names that were given to us. We're so-called this. That's not exactly who we are. That's not the true identity of us, right? And even with the so-called Jewish people, they call themselves Jewish people, but they're not the Jews of the Bible. So it's like a disclaimer. All right, Revelations 11 and 8.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
Right, so it's these precepts, and you'll hear it here, talking about spiritually Sodom and Egypt. It's talking about a different nation, but it's not talking about Sodom and Egypt. You drop down, go to Revelations 18 and 4. All right? Or, matter of fact, go to verse 2.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Right, so these are visions that John the Revelator is getting about future prophecies about a nation saying Babylon the Great is fallen. But at this time when he wrote it, the nation of Babylon, ancient Babylon, had already fallen. So he's talking about a different nation. Egypt was already gone. Sodom and Gomorrah was already gone. They're talking about different nations. Who are they talking about? Keep going.
Verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
For what?
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
So this is talking about China. One more time.
For all the nations
Russia
have drunk of the wine.
Keep going.
Of
Say
the
one more time. All nations.
For all nations.
France.
For all nations.
You know what I mean? Germany.
For all nations.
The UK.
For all nations.
India. You know what I'm saying? One more time.
For all nations.
Keep going.
Have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Right. Keep going.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy.
The abundance of her delicacy. What does the word abundance mean? Alexa, what is the definition of abundance?
Abundance is usually defined as an extremely plentiful or oversufficient quantity or supply.
Stop.
For more,
Alexa,
ask
stop.
me.
Alexa, which is the richest nation on planet Earth? Alexa, which is the richest nation on planet Earth? What is?
The country with the wealthiest GDP per capita on Earth is Monaco at $234,300 US.
Now they're gonna say it's Monaco. All right. What is Alexa? They be playing these damn games. What is the?
I missed something.
Hold on.
Can you say it again?
Alexa, what is the most powerful nation on Earth right now? Let's see.
There are 195 UN recognized countries on Earth. 193 of them are United Nations member states, and 2, the state of Palestine and the Holy See, are non-member observer states.
Okay. I'm switch up one more thing. Let's see if we can get this. Alexa, which nation has the most powerful military on Earth?
From worldatlas.com, The United States is the ultimate military superpower with a defense budget of $601 billion.
All right. But even outside of that, everyone knows America is the wealthiest nation on earth. They're talking about this GDP of this small country, Monaco. Alexa, what is the population of Monaco?
In 2019, the population of Monaco was 38,200 people.
38,000. There's more people live in Richmond, California. And nobody in the half of the world knows about Richmond, California. There's more people that live in this city. So what the hell are they talking about? That Alexa is set up too. Alexa in the Illuminati. We're going to find out. You understand what I'm saying? She working with them too. She programmed by them as well. But they're trying to make it all the way around not to say that America is the most powerful. Everyone knows America has the most powerful military. They invest the most money in weapons. And that question was, they try to say this country with 38,000 people. Of course, there's only 10 people live there. If I may, hold on, I got another joke though, man. I remember this movie from back in the 80s. My dad used to always show it to us when I was a kid. It's a movie called Arthur. And Arthur was a drunk. He was rich though. His family were like billionaires back in the 80s, hundreds of millions of dollars. He's supposed to get an inheritance of like $300 million back in the 80s. And the only reason why they weren't going to give him the money is because he was going to marry. He didn't want to marry the other family they wanted him to marry. And he was just a filthy drunk. That's all he do is wake up in the morning. He got all the money in the world, get in his limo, go and drink till he's sloppy, can't stand up. And he go buy prostitutes. And this dude, Arthur, he goes to this wealthy restaurant, 5-star restaurant. He fall in there drunk. He got the prostitutes. He dressed like a real whore. You know what I mean? Everyone else in there is rich. He got their suits, ties, everything. The only reason she's letting the door is because of him. He sees his aunt and uncle. They like 75 years old gray hair, white Edomites sitting at a table. He goes, sits next to them. He drunk all over the place. And they ask him like, so Arthur, where is she from? He was like, she's from a very small country. And then they're like, okay, we understand. He was like, no, I'm telling you, it's very, very small. They're like, all right, we get it, Arthur. He's drunk. He's like, nah, the country is so small, you can catch a taxi from one end to the other end of it. They're like, okay, we get it, Arthur. He was like, nah, the country is so small, they had the whole country carpeted. Nigga, oh no, man, like, nigga, that shit just had me roll out. Like, that's how small Monaco is, though, man. That shit is the country here, you know what I mean? It's just not even a real nation. But go ahead, what's your...
Oh, so like, sir, I was just gonna say with the UN, you said the most powerful country, it said the UN.
Yeah.
Mentioned that, you could say, but who runs the UN? It's the US.
It's America, you know what I mean? Well, okay, back to Revelation. So there could only be one nation that this is talking about. Based off this description, that all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy. Everyone makes money with America. They say America is a melting pot. You go to India, who lives in India? What's the majority of people that live in India?
Indians?
Right. You go to China, it's the majority of people that live in China.
Chinese.
You go to Russia, same. No, you go once you start going into you know what I mean? I'm asking. Who lives in Russia?
Russia.
Exactly. Every nation, it's mainly their people. Only in America, you have everyone from everywhere comes here. All the merchants of the earth come here to start businesses, to make money, to go to Wall Street, to do all these things. So, it does not say United States of America in the Bible. You don't look here and see, oh, this is saying the U.S. started by George Washington. No, it tells you a prophecy and it tells you the description of how these people are and the things they're going to do. That's how we know Babylon the Great is America. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the same way we identify who the Israelites are according to the Bible. And the curses is the main thing that we use to identify us as being Israelites, is because when we go back to Deuteronomy 28, there's all these different curses that show we don't line up with this story. We're we're not the wealthiest nation. All the merchants don't come to the ghetto. All the merchants don't come to the barrio. All the merchants don't come to Haiti or Guatemala or El Salvador to enrich themselves. We're trying to leave these places to get here to work here. You understand what I'm saying? We identify with the curses. That's how we know we are Israelites, all right? So we're going to get into this book and run through it pretty fast. If there's any questions or comments y'all want to say on that before we go ahead?
Wow, sir.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, the brother got something online. Yashakar asked Alexa before Mexicans are Israelites. I think she said yes. Let's see, we'll try it out. Alexa, are the Mexicans Israelites?
I don't have an answer for that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you don't. All right, we do. Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. We start off from the east. If I had another book, I would have you read it. I could go with you and tell you where to skip, but I'm gonna read it for time's sake. All right. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of Negro or Indian descent are on their father's side are the true Israelites of biblical antiquity, meaning history. I say so-called because those names were given to us by our oppressors during colonization and slavery. Our original culture and identity were stripped from us by our oppressors. If we didn't have American holidays, what would we celebrate? Did you ever wonder? Or what language did our ancestors speak before English, Spanish, Portuguese, Creole, etc.? All right, I'm gonna skip down. In the following chapters, I will focus primarily on the northern kingdom of Israel. They would have been the people living throughout the Americas before the arrival of Christopher Columbus. Have you ever heard of the Mayan, Aztec, or Incan civilizations? Or what about the Taino, Apache, Seminole, or Cherokee Indians? If none of these things ring a bell, what about the Ohio mound builders? Well, all these people and many more indigenous people of the Americas are Israelites who traveled across the Atlantic Ocean from the east. All right, let's skip down. The purpose of this series is to prove without a shadow of a doubt that the people mentioned above are Israelites. These same people left the Assyrian Empire circa 700 BC and sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. All right, let's keep going. All right, give me 1 Kings chapter 11 and 1.
Come.
We're going to go down to verse 6. All right. It's talking about the split of Israel.
Salakia, 11 verse 6.
11 and 1. We're going to go down to verse 6.
Come.
It's talking about the split of Israel. Why do we say there's a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom? Wow, you know what I mean? All right, go ahead.
This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
Right, Moabites, the so-called Chinese, Ammonites, Japanese, Edomites, you know who those people are. And then Zidonians and Hittites, I'm not too familiar offhand. All right, keep going.
Come. Of the nations concerning which of the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them,
Right.
neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love.
Right, like you see this in all types of movies. They have new movies. Every other 5 years they come out with a movie where it's a Edomite and a black woman getting together, coming together. It's a black man and an Edomite woman coming together. It's an Asian and an Indian coming together. These two families, they different cultures, and they come together, and it's a whole lot of conflict and jokes and comedy and all that. But it's always one family influencing another one to, like, somebody in that relationship is going towards the other person, or they try to compromise and do both. So it's like, oh, you celebrate Hanukkah, we celebrate Christmas, we're going to do it together. And that's you turning your back on your God. That's what the Lord does not want for the children of Israel. If you deal with different nations, they're going to influence you and your children to follow their culture. You're going to want to break away from your culture. So the Lord said we're not to deal with these people. Keep going.
Verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart.
Right. So I know Christian women, they love this precept. They say this is the reason why a man should not have more than one wife. But that is like comparing, I don't know, apples and silver. Not even apples and oranges. Like, goddamn. Solomon had 1,000 different women. Like, had man having 2 wives and 1,000 wives is a different ball game. This brother right here, he was, a lot of the reasons why Solomon was doing this were for political reasons. He was trying to make deals with these other nations because that's the culture of the heathens. In the ancient world, men would give their daughters to their rival or someone they wanted to do business with, just like I was saying with Arthur. If that movie, his father was a billionaire and the other father was a billionaire, they might have had conflicting businesses. So now that our daughter and son are together, we can do business together and not feel threatened. Or we can grow even bigger because we come together. That's what the nations were doing. And that's Solomon being carnal and trying to be like the other nations. And a lot of the things he was doing was marrying these other nations' daughters so to make them, a lot of them really probably was giving their daughters to him. They wanted, they were scared of Solomon too as well. They didn't want to have any problems. So they say, okay, he's not gonna go to war with us because my daughter is with him. But that's not what he should have done. You know, that was out of pocket. That was out of order. All right, keep going.
Verse 4. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods.
Right.
And his heart was not perfect with the Lord, his God. And so again, as was the heart of David, his father.
All right, so even in his youth, he's dealing with these women. He was keeping it business to some extent. And then he got old. Everything the Lord said would happen is what happened. They started swaying him and talking to him and telling him to do this. And he started putting up different things to worship these other gods in the land, in the holy land of Israel. Keep going.
Verse 5. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcah, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father.
All right, let's drop down to verse 31. Mm-hmm.
Verse 31. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel. Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake,
Word.
and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel.
Right, so this is a prophecy that came against Solomon, that he's going to take 10 tribes from him and tear the kingdom apart. So that's how there became a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom instead of a united monarchy. That's what it says. It was one kingdom under Solomon. He had all the 12 tribes working together. But since he did evil, the Lord split up the children of Israel, but he left 1 tribe, which would be the tribe of Judah, for David, because that's what David's tribe was. David was the tribe of Judah. Go ahead.
So lucky, sir. Not off topic, but do you know the chronological like where First Kings takes place and being written?
Okay, it's going to talk about it right in here. It says, to give all this a proper context, we first have to go back to roughly 800 to 700 BC. This is an estimated time of the end of King Solomon's reign in Israel and the Assyrian Empire. So 800 years before Christ, 800 to 700 years before Christ. Okay. Is that it? Is there any more, like, what else were you questioning, like, in the time? Like, just to get an idea of where we at in history or
Con for the
before? Okay.
con on con.
All right. No sweat. So yeah, that's what he's saying. He said the reason why is because the Assyrian empires and these things were going on. He said, I say estimated time because no one truly agrees on the timelines we have. The way we keep track of time today is completely different from how time was kept in the past. Ancient empires recorded time according to kings' lists, keeping the tracks of kings and the length of their time on the throne. This sometimes leads to inaccurate recordings of time. Some reasons for this inaccuracy could be a change in regime or an era of weak leadership in that particular kingdom. So he says we'll just give an average, okay? All right, let's get back. Let's get forward. All right, let's go. Solomon's actions led to a split in the kingdom. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi will become the predominant tribes in the southern kingdom of Judea, while Ephraim would rule over the remaining tribes of the northern kingdom in the land called Samaria. So yeah, Benjamin came down. So the land of Judea was a big area, and that's where the southern kingdom was at. The Benjamites would be the West Indians, the Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, people from St. Lucia. All those people are the Benjamites, and they lived amongst the children of Israel, and as well as the Levites, because they were the priestly class. They were all over the land of Israel amongst the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. But after the northern kingdom split, they wanted to institute their own priests. So they stopped following the Levites, and the Levites came down into the southern kingdom and lived amongst the Judites. Go ahead, up.
Salaki, sir. So were the sons of Solomon the ones that took over? Were they heathens or were their mothers heathens? Salaki.
Okay. It depends. I really don't believe the sons were their mothers were heathens. I don't think so. I think they were Israelites, but it wouldn't have mattered. They would have still been Israelites. You know? But we'd have to go and look at each specific son and see who his mother was. But I don't think it quite mentions. We just have to double check and see. Well, I can go further into that at another time. Just remind me, and I'll look into that. But any reason why you're asking that?
Salaki, I was just wondering, if David favored the sons of the non-Israelite women over the sons of Israelite women.
Oh, you mean Solomon, right?
Oh, Salaki, so yes.
Right.
Because by the time, because in my mind, I'm thinking if Christ comes from the house of David and Joseph was of the house of David,
Right.
at some point, that family line, because he had a lot of sons, so at some point that family line had to be kicked out of the higher social status. If his father was a carpenter, that means there's other parts of his family that still had that lineage of that power.
Right. Well, the whole nation fell when he was thrown into captivity. So you gotta think the kings, when you get down to Jeremiah, kings went into captivity too. You know what I mean? So everybody fell down to a lower status in essence. And then you get to, now you're getting towards the Maccabees who came back, and they were new families that would come into prominence. But around the time of Christ, what happened was, I try to make it not so, I get long-winded. So basically, the Maccabees, Mattathias Maccabees was the one that killed the heathen. I'm not sure if you know too much about that, right? So he killed the heathen and the brother that were trying to sacrifice for the pig. He got his son, Judah Maccabees. They went to war and kicked the Greeks out of the temple and rededicated the temple. Later on in the Maccabees, Judah Maccabees, they ended up getting killed. One of his brothers, I think it was John Hyrcanus, I think it was Simon and it was John. Might be messing the names up, but one of them became the leader of the Israelites. And through him, he combined the priesthood and the kingship. So this is where it got all muffled up. So he was saying he was a king and a high priest. So then they started to, first they went out and converted some Edomites too. Niggas was going off. Right? They went down, Edomites was living underneath the Israelites. We went to war with them, and then they started forcing them to follow our laws and our culture. And so out of that, one of those women had a child, I believe, with an Edomite. And this is where you get King Herod, the lines of the Herod. And they put him over the kingship, even though his father was an Edomite. And so these priests that were not really supposed to be priests and high priests from this bloodline of John Hyrcanus, this is where you get the Sadducees and Pharisees from. So they were all out of order, doing all this, just rearranging and really not following how things were supposed to go. And then, so go ahead.
That's lucky. So I was gonna ask. So Herod's father was an Edomite.
Correct.
So within that, is that another reason why Christ said to the Pharisees, "You have your father the devil"? Because were they Israel or were they considered Edomites as well?
The Sadducees and Pharisees were Israelites. So he's talking about spiritually, they have your father the devil. But Herod, King Herod, this is the reason why he was always trying to kill Yahushua from birth, is because he knew he didn't have a rightful ownership to being a king because he wasn't from the bloodline of the kings. And so that's long, long story short, and that's another topic we can get into as well. But that's why Christ, his father, like I said, was a carpenter. That whole line was not even in line to being in charge of the Israelites because of the move that John Hyrcanus had done, placing himself as a king over the children of Israel, placing himself as a high priest, giving the priesthood to his sons, and then they ended up messing it up even more and giving the kingship to a goddamn heathen. So it was just completely out of order, but that's where you get them living like that. So it might not have been anybody in Christ's family that was living in that high stature. You know what I mean? Yeah, from the time. But as far as all the heathen kids he had, who knows what happened with them? They could have, like I said, following the laws. I think it's 10 generations before a heathen can come back amongst the congregation. There's a lot of politics. That's a good question, though. I'm gonna dig deeper into that. I need to write that down. Is all those damn heathen kids? What the hell happened to them? But they weren't heathens; they're Israelites. But the children of the heathens, you know what I mean? What was going on with them? Write that down real quick. And I saw you ask that question about Revelations as well. Children of heathens earlier today, and I know the general gave a quick answer to it. If you got more questions on it, we can talk again. I'll write it down. I'll try to give them a call directly and just get it more to, because I know it takes a little bit longer than the quick answer you might have gave me. Because I understand your question more than how it was read, you know what I mean, in class. Because we had talked about it before. All right. Well, go ahead with your other.
So I was just gonna clarify, like, while I was asking that, because is that why they're more willing to, or no, Salaki, it says so because of Solomon's disobedience.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Let's go. Let's keep going through here. Let's see where we at. I'm just gonna keep reading through the history. All right, the 10 tribes which went with Ephraim were as follows: Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Asher, Naphtali, Issachar, and Dan. One tribe was left for Judah to rule over, the tribe of Benjamin. I know what you're thinking. That's 13 tribes. Let's dig a little deeper to understand what comprised the nation of Israel. When you read the following passages, we'll find that Levi also returned to the southern region of Israel. At that time, Levi was considered Israel, but was not considered to be a full tribe. The reason is Levi did not have land for inheritance, but rather the sacrifices of the Most High belonged to him in the priesthood. All right, I'm trying to say this, kind of skip forward.
Salakia, sir.
Go ahead.
That's another question I actually had, but I forgot to ask it. So the inheritance of Levi, it was 10% of all the earnings of all 10 tribes?
Correct.
Okay, that's like that 200.
Right. You got to think like, how do the police get their money? From taxes. They take taxes from everybody in California and pay the California Police Department. The FBI is federal government. That might even be a better example. They're over the whole government, so they take taxes from the federal government, and that's how they get their money. And so they just take a little bit. So when you go to the store, you pay percentage more that goes to fund the government. And that's how our ties were to fund this whole tribe of people. You know what I mean? All right, so let's see. I'll keep going though. The tribe of Levi dwelled within all the land of Israel. Their duty was to perform the office of the priest. To be considered a tribe, you would have had to have an abundance of sons and land. In their wickedness, the northern kingdom cast them out, and the Levites came to Judea. This made the southern kingdom predominantly composed of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. This made 10 tribes in the north and 2 tribes in the south, the 12 tribes of Israel. As we continue through the Chronicles, we find Ephraim and Simeon have also left their territories in the south. We also find a reoccurring theme in the scriptures. Israel continues to sin against the Most High. Our sinful actions lead to us having absence of priests and laws. All right, let's see. Still trying to get to a little bit more. Something that can get us a little bit. 90 seconds. Go to 2 Kings 17:5. So it says, one nation, I'm going to read from here a little bit more. One nation is split because of iniquity. Soon after, the northern kingdom of Israel will go further into wickedness. As you read in 2 Kings in the 17th chapter, King Hosea of the northern kingdom turned his back on the Lord and became a servant to the heathen. He began paying tribute to this empire, but his loyalty did not last long. Instead of turning back to the Most High, he attempted to seek assistance from Egypt and create an alliance with them. This angered the Lord, and as a result, King Hosea's conspiracy was discovered, and the king of Assyria cast him into prison. The scriptures call Ephraim a silly dove, which in essence is a lovebird. This is a metaphor for the particular tribe's weakness and carnality. Ephraim went into spiritual fornication by leaving the Most High power and attempting to find protection and love from these other nations. This is an excellent comparison for what we do today with the Democratic and Republican parties, attempting to choose the lesser evil instead of just realizing that evil is evil. During this time, the political landscape was between 2 powers, Egypt and Assyria. Our strength as a people has always been the Most High power. The word holy comes from the Hebrew word kodash, which means to be separate. The nation of Israel will always fail when we integrate with other people and turn our backs on the laws, statutes, and commandments given to us during the time of Moses. This led to the cities of Samaria being under siege and began another one of Israel's major captivity. For treason against the Most High power, Israel once again fell under the curses of Deuteronomy 28. So once again, that us going against the Lord, we committed treason. We broke the laws of God, and we had to pay for it. And this is where these curses come in. So let's go to 2 Kings 17:5.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes.
Right, the Medes, right? And that's going back, like I was reading a little bit earlier. Basically, the northern kingdom hated the southern kingdom so much, they go into the civil war, they beefing. They made an alliance with the Assyrians to fight us. Then we made an alliance with the Assyrians as well and tried to backdoor them. So it's like we both trying to go to this other country and nation to help fight each other. Today, how would you compare that? That's like the Southerners, like the Iscarite gang from SoCal, they don't like blacks. You know what I'm saying? Judites. Judites don't like the Southerners, right? In the prison. They went and made a deal with the white boys, the Aryan Brotherhood. That's what happened in LA. Or you could even say it's kind of like them working with the police almost. Like if the Judites start saying we're gonna start snitching on the Iscarites from Southern California, and the Southern California Iscarites like we're gonna start snitching on the blacks from anywhere. You know what I mean? Like they're siding with this outside group to stop their enemy, and then it end up being the same people. The police end up locking both of them up. Like nigga, we don't give a fuck about them. Sorry, I'm for my language. We don't give a damn about either one of you. We're the police. We'll lock both of you up. You think you telling on him is gonna make me like you? You know what I mean? And so then the Northern Kingdom, they tried to go and get a deal with the Egyptians. They tried to go to another heathen nation. And all they ended up doing was getting them brought into slavery. The Syrians was like, damn, yeah, we don't trust you. And they went to war with them, took them into slavery in Syria. All right. You had your hand raised up?
Slocky. I'm not sure on the verse, but is this, oh man, I feel like maybe in Hosea, but is that talking about a time where, or I don't believe it's Hosea actually, but is it talking about a time where there's a verse that says, I will not punish your daughters for their whoredom? And
Right.
is this the reason why there's no prophets at this time?
That is in Hosea. I believe you are correct. Because it's not, yeah, I was just reading it not too long ago. It's Hosea, 3rd, 4th chapter, somewhere in there. But what exactly is the question?
So like, Salakia, so at this time, there's no one calling for Israel to come back to the Lord. Is this the time where it's like the Lord isn't going to show us our iniquities and is allowing this to happen because of our iniquities? I mean, Salakia.
I'm not gonna say there always was a time. So unless you show me the precept where you're saying that exactly. See. This is Jose. Look it up right here. Right. Hosea 4:14.
Sorry, come.
Go ahead.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 14. I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery, for themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore, the people that doth not understand shall fall.
Okay.
15.
No, you can hold it right there. So, the book of Hosea was from the northern kingdom. And so he's checking the northern kingdom throughout this whole book that he wrote. And so this is one of the few times you get to see. And he, he's going dealing with all of Israel, of course, but his main thing was talking about what's going on in this time period right here. So go ahead.
So my question, is Hosea talking about this time in 2 Kings?
Correct.
Khan.
Yeah. He's seeing all this happen. That's where you get these famous precepts in Hosea 4 and 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. That's when they're going into captivity. You go to Hosea 5 and 9. Ephraim shall be desolate in the day of rebuke. Among the tribes of Israel have I made known that which shall surely be. And then it gets on Judah too. The princes of Judah were like them that removed the bound. Therefore I will pour out my wrath upon them like water. Verse 11, Ephraim is oppressed and broken in judgment, because he willingly walked after the commandment. Therefore will I be unto Ephraim as a moth, and to the house of Judah as rottenness. Verse 13, when Ephraim saw his sickness and Judah saw his wound, then went Ephraim to the Assyrian and sent the king to Jareb. Yet could he not heal you, nor cure you for your wound. For I will be unto Ephraim as a lion, and as a young lion to the house of Judah. Even I will tear and go away. I will take away, and none shall rescue him. So all of these things, as Ephraim saw Judah was going through some things, they went to the Assyrian and tried to knock off their brother. And it just led to, further destruction amongst the children of Israel. So, like I said, I don't want to, for time say we keep moving a little bit. I know this is long. We're going to have to definitely spend more time on this. I know it gets a little boring doing all this reading.
Sir.
But it's good to know this history. Like, we didn't just go and wake up. Like, even me, being in the world, a lot of times when you first hear about this, you just be like, are these cats just making this up? You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds cool. Like, okay, we live in California. It sounds cool to just say Mexicans and Black people and Native Americans and Israelites. And is there anything there besides you saying it? And we say it so much that it's normal once you've been around and been in it for so long that you might not really, doesn't matter. Like, there's different type of people. Some people just like, yeah, I'm with it. I have a feeling. I always felt there was a connection. You know what I mean? Like, even me growing up, I used to ask my cousin, his wife is a correct. He got kids with her, but I remember when we was younger, I was just random ass question. I probably asked him, I was like, if you could be any other race, what would you be? He was like, I'd be Mexican. I'm like, yeah, me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just something. And I just always remember going to high school, like, I had African friends, quote unquote, but it was just like not a friendship. It was just like, these niggas hate me, I hate them. It was just weird. You go to their house, it was just never, real love. You know what I mean? So even when I went to college, I was around different Hamites. They always looked down. It's just weird. It's just like we were forcing ourselves to be African because this is what we were told. And you try, but it just doesn't fit that. But as far as this, like when you go into this and see it's a real history in this Bible and how it lines up and adds up to get to where we're at today, it makes sense. You're like, damn, the more and more. I initially came just off of a feeling. Then I'm learning more, and it reiterates and certifies. Okay, I was writing what I felt, and this type of stuff like makes you know, like, damn, okay, this stuff makes sense. It's not just some crazy cats on the street just saying whatever they're saying. You know what I mean? It's backed up through the Bible, and it only adds up a certain way. These cats that call themselves Jewish people, their story doesn't add up to this. It doesn't even make sense. All right, let's go there. Where were we at in Kings?
That's like it. Verse 6.
All right.
Oh, verse 7, Salakia.
Verse 7. This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God,
All right.
which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and the kings of Israel which they had made.
Keep going.
Verse 9. And the children of Israel did secretly those things.
Salakia. Go drop down to verse 18.
Verse 18. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
Right. So he got the northern kingdom out of the land. The same way, if we're the chosen people and the Lord gave us this land to be ours, to be a holy land, a separate land, it's like the school. This school is a small representation of the nation of Israel. This building, you know what I'm saying? It's for us. We don't let heathens come in here. We don't let other nations come in here and congregate with us. We don't let people cook pork on our grill. We don't let people roll up weed on our table. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine coming into the school and you see my partner from the world just rolling up a blunt on this table? It's out of order. What is anybody going to do? They're going to kick him out of here. You know what I'm saying? We told you, Israel, you good, you come here, you can stay here, because you're our brother. We leave to go to the bathroom, we come back, you roll. Nah, you know we don't do that. You know we don't get down like that. This is a holy place. It's a separate place. You can go do that next door, you can go do it outside, you can do it in your car, but you're not going to do it here. You're either going to leave willingly or we're going to force you out like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We're going to throw you out. You know what I mean? And that's what the Lord is saying. This is my house. This is my land. And you're either going to obey my rules or you're going to get out of my land. And matter of fact, once we leave this building, some heathens move in here. We don't care what goes on in the land. If anybody's going to be in the building, if you're going to be here smoking weed, why would we care if the Moabites come in here and smoke weed? It doesn't matter. You was going to do it anyway. So they might as well live here. I might as well teach you a lesson and kick you out of the building and move in some Asians, and they take over the building and they can do whatever they want. They can make all their shrimp, cat, dog, whatever they want in this building because it's gonna be done. You're gonna do the same thing. You know what I mean? So keep going, verse 19.
Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made.
People.
And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight.
Right, so this is why we got sent into these different captivities and slavery. One was with the Assyrians, that's the northern kingdom, and one was the Babylonians, that was the southern kingdom. All right, what?
So, okay, sir, I was just wondering, what does it mean when it says, also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made? What is the but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made?
So Israel, Judah and Israel, when you see it like this in this context, Judah is the southern kingdom, Israel is the northern kingdom. So the statutes, Israel, they made their own rules, they made their own laws, they worshiped their own gods. The northern kingdom is. So the Judites followed and went into the same way as them. You know what I mean? And one thing is interesting, whatever God you serve is the people you're going to serve. Commander Johanna always says that. I'm like, damn, it's heavy. He's like, you want to serve their God so much and be a part of these other nations that you end up serving these nations. Like, we know Christmas is not our culture. You take all the spookiness off of it. We, like, in our mind, do you really think we heard about a Christmas before Edomites? I wonder what people think when we go and tell them this. Like, you know in your mind that your people never celebrated 4th of July before America. They never celebrated Christmas never celebrated Thanksgiving. But now you are so brainwashed, you cannot, your family is centered around doing what they do. Like your family's gonna fight you because you don't show up to Christmas, but they had to kill your grandfather to get you to celebrate Christmas. Like that's how brainwashed we are. It's like they forced on us so much that now we force it on ourselves. We force it on our own people. But us being forced to follow after their gods will always keep us underneath them and serving them. So Christmas is the biggest one. A lot of these businesses in America, they tell you straight up, if it wasn't for the Christmas season, their business will go under. They make the majority of their money around Christmas. And they wouldn't even be able to survive. And so we're working all year, breaking our backs, and then we give up all of our money at the end of the year to these heathens, and then they get richer, and the next year they further enslave you. Like you're not getting richer. They're saying the rich get richer and the poor get poor. So they're going up off of every Christmas. They taking jumps, and you coming down. You're like, damn, why can't we ever come up? Because you keep following them. If you split off and do your own thing, you're gonna take that money away from them, and guess what? They're gonna start coming down, and you're gonna start going up. So the Israelites back then, Judites, they kept having a love for Babylon. And it's like the Judites kept loving the gods of Babylon. Well, guess where they ended up going to slavery in Babylon? The northern kingdom had a love for the gods of the Assyrians. They want to start putting in these Assyrian gods and worship these Assyrian gods, trying to be like them. Those are people you end up serving, man. It's the same thing today. Go ahead.
Salaki, sir. So even though Judah is also following in the steps of Israel, the Lord kept them in the land to fulfill the prophecy of Christ.
Nah, we got sent into slavery too, huh? The Babylonian slavery. They had to come back. This is where you get Ezra, Nehemiah. They had got sent back out of Babylon. Back in. They got sent out of the land as well. And so you're saying, did they get sent back? I guess you could say that, okay, at that point. Like we didn't stay the whole time. Though. We left and then came back. You know what I mean? Some people stayed in the land, but the majority of us went to Babylon. And then we came back.
Oh, Salakia.
Good.
That's with so this is before Meshach and Abednego.
Exactly.
The third one.
Exactly, yeah. And that's one of the precepts that's going into more into then what time we got. I'm not gonna hold it too much long. We're just gonna have to go next week. We're just gonna have to honor this and go and keep going through this book. We'll get more in depth into it. But yeah, give me that. Give me Daniel chapter 1. I'll show you something. And then yeah, it goes right here into 2nd Ezra. So try to do 10 more minutes. You got some good artifacts and pictures in here as well. A couple more precepts. Get further into it. But yeah, when you get into Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego.
Meshach.
Yeah. Daniel chapter 1, and we can start at verse 1.
Khan.
The book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1. In the 3rd year, the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and the king's seed, and of the princess.
Right, so even in this part, he said he's taking the prominent members of Israel the king seed, the princes, all those royal families, Solomon and all this, they getting brought into slavery. You know what I mean? Yeah, verse 4.
Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace,
Right.
and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Mm-hmm. So, right, and so that's another important part too. Is like they always try to tell you that they took these ignorant slaves and brought them to America, who was living in monkeys. The Bible shows you there's nothing new under the sun. They took people that had knowledge, wisdom, understanding of science to come and live in the king's palace, because that's who you want to serve you, people that are intelligent. Why would you want to have people working for you? Like, it's like you hiring a chimpanzee to go work. If we were that dumb, like, why would you want a chimpanzee to run your nation? You have to have some type of knowledge in order to do these things. And so they were learning from these people and using that to become powerful. But where is the part where it says they changed their names? Okay, drop down to verse 6.
Verse 6. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Right, so this is their names: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Verse 7.
Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Right, so even back in those days, they did the same thing they do when we went into slavery. They change your name. They've always done the same thing. They try to change your name to give you this new identity, spirit, put their clothes on you, make you worship their gods, and change your character and spirit by, changing your name. So I just wanted to put that in there since you mentioned these cats, that even the name that we usually say, we always say Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, that's actually their slave names. That's not even like being Israelites. We should really key in and say they Hebrew names. But that's how most people know and remember them. But I'm gonna take it myself as well to remember Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. That's who went into the lines then. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, that's Christian in itself. Christian, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, like that's their slave names. You know what I mean? No, I'm saying we all do. That's the ones we always remember, because that's the one I've always heard growing up. I always forget their actual Hebrew names, and that's not their literal, because it's English, but those names are closer when you look into it. They're closer pronunciations to
the Hebrew.
Yeah, the Hebrew. All right, now let's go back to 2nd Ezra 13 and 40. And this is gonna be the last thing we say before.
2nd Ezra 13 and 40.
Right. As a matter of fact, I'll wait. And on another note, for next time, I found some videos I did talking about the book of Tobit, and when they went into captivity as well, because the book of Tobit is talking about when the northern kingdom was in slavery in Assyria and what was going on at that time. But you look up the history of the Assyrians, and they tell you how they will go and take other people from these different lands and transport them back to their nation. But all this is recorded in the Bible as well. All right, like the culture of these people line up with history. The names of these different kings, like they were talking about in class earlier today, Xerxes. You see the movie 300. Xerxes is in that movie. He's a figure in history. He's recorded in the Bible. You hear about how the Assyrians are in the Bible, but go look at Assyrians outside of the Bible, and it says the same thing. It's how we know it's a history book. they were doing the exact same things that the Bible says they were doing. All right,
Salakia, sir.
go ahead.
So another brother actually mentioned something on the same lines of that, where one of the reasons that they took the Apocrypha out of the Bible was because it was the history of it was too close to the history that we're talking the west of Alexander the Great.
Right.
Is that true?
I would think so.
Khan.
I would think the key piece of the puzzle to me is in Maccabees when it explains how the Jews became Greeks.
Khan.
And that whole backstory, just like any movie, like you watch the Marvel movies, there's all these backstories and side stories that make the greater story make sense. But if you don't know, you miss this part of it, and you don't understand how this connects to that, you just come in the middle of the series, it doesn't all make sense. So you miss out this whole Apocrypha and miss in Maccabees where the Greeks came in and made the Israelites call themselves Greeks and not allow them to call themselves Jews anymore or Israelites. Then you go to the New Testament, it says neither Jew nor Greek. You would believe that this means all nations. You know what I mean? So the history of Alexander the Great was the beginning of that movement of the Greeks coming in and taking over our land. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so it makes it easier without the Apocrypha. It makes John 3:16 more acceptable to those of other nations.
Yeah, I'm right. They didn't do it for no reason, man. Esau don't do it for no reason. Even for me, like I remember, matter of fact, I'm listening to Captain Yadazak earlier today. He was saying he grew up, his father was a Christian pastor. Captain Yadazak, he's one of the coldest captains in the truth right now in Texas, building up a hell of a men out there and sisters in Texas. But when he was learning about the truth for months or even a year or so, his biggest thing was not accepting all nations of people. He's like, the Christianity, I was so brainwashed hearing this my whole life that I didn't accept it. And so even me, that was one of the things being spooky, like, damn, are they making this up? Because I've heard all these different verses where it's to the Jew and the Gentiles, and to the Jew first, then to the Gentile, whatever, like Paul the apostle of the Gentiles. So I'm like, how are they making this mean Israelites? It seems like they're just making this up. But then when I read the Apocrypha, that was a key moment for me. I remember coming across that and seeing it, I'm like, okay, now I see why it was like that light moment for me. And so I know it would be that way for other people as well. People that haven't understood the context of the history, which, one more point, makes the Christian pastors and leaders so evil. Because they know about the Apocrypha and they know about the history. A lot of them do, but they don't teach you that. So it's like they're sitting here telling you this story where it's like, nah, you're blatantly lying to us and keeping this away. Go ahead.
So like I was going to say, or ask, just to clarify, within that's the Hellenization of the Jews.
Correct.
Referring to the Greeks as Hellenized Jews.
Right.
What
were you saying? What part?
It's like in the Apocrypha, in Maccabees.
Which part are you talking about?
Oh no, so like when it talks about the Jew and the Greek.
Oh, you're talking about the New Testament.
It's referring to the same Hellenized people from First Maccabees.
Right. There's countless precepts where you can find or go look into the word where Greek. It blatantly tells you that this is talking about Israelites. It's one of my favorite precepts. I always pull that when I battle Christians because they never go into it. So we're gonna end on that. We're not gonna go in further into the second Ezra, but before we leave, I will pull that. Give me Acts 9:27.
39:27. So
I think it's 9 and 27.
Let
me see. I'll show you this one right here. It's good to go into Nope, it's 9 and 29. So I'll go have him read this one and ask him what is this talking about, and then go into something called the interlinear. So Acts. Go ahead and read.
The book of Acts, chapter 9, verse 29. And he spake boldly in the name of the Lord Jesus. And he spake boldly in the name of the Lord Yahushua, and disputed against the Grecians, but they went about to slay him.
Right. So when you read that for face value, what does that mean?
Salakia, they're speaking, or Paul is speaking to against Israelites in Greek territory, and they wanted to kill him because of it.
Well, like I said, like let's say if you're in the world, when you hear that, what do you think when it says? Because when they say Jew nor Greek, they automatically assume it's just Greek people. So when they say Grecians, they think,
oh, Salakia,
yeah,
similar to how I'm an American, but I'm not a white American, even though it's a white nation.
right. But no, I'm saying from their perspective, though, like, so if I just go battling a random Christian, right, and I pull this verse and ask them, because they love to say neither Jew nor Greek, when they see this word Grecian, they think this is Greek people, white heathens. You know what I mean? So read verse 29 again.
And he spake boldly in the name of the Lord Yahushua,
right,
and disputed against the Grecians, but they went about to slay him.
Right. So these Greek people came up against him and saying, right, that's what they're gonna say. I'm about to send you a link right here, and then we'll close up. You got your phone on you? Click on this link. Should show it to the people in class. They might be able to see it, but now. But if you just go tell the people in class, if you go to Acts 9 and 29 and go to your interlinear, put interlinear on there, you'll see what we're looking at. Did it come up? All right, so when you read it, now you read the English.
Mm-hmm. He was speaking also and was debating the Hellenists.
Right. And so click on that 1675 above it. What is this? So in that translation is going to reading the Greek. The New Testament was written in Greek, and when you see the word in Greek, it says Hellenists. All right, and that word you said Hellenization is a word meaning spreading Greek culture. You Hellenize someone, you teach them how to become a Greek. They like Greek food, Greek movies or plays or whatever, Greek poetry, etc. It's becoming Hellenized. And that's how the Greeks were trying to take over the world. It's pushing their culture. It was called Hellenization. To this day, if you know anything about black fraternities and sororities, they call themselves Greeks. I'm a Greek. I'm a sorority, Alpha Phi, Omega, whatever. But there's an organization of 9 black fraternities. They call it the Pan-Hellenic Society, because just like you hear the word Pan-African, it's all African countries coming together. It's all the Greek different sororities coming together, and they still use that word to this day. But when you go further into what is the definition of Hellenist in Greek, what does it mean? The translation tells you.
Definition: a Hellenist, Grecian Jew, a Greek-speaking Jew, that is one who can speak Greek only and not Hebrew.
Right. So that same verse where it says he disputed against the Grecians, it's talking about Jews that could speak Greek only, or Greek-speaking Jews. That might be their first language. You know what I mean? And so they trying to kill him for teaching about Christ because they were holding on to that Greek culture. But all that goes from the time of Maccabees. You know what I mean? But you can find that throughout the Bible, showing and proving that to neither Jew nor Greek has nothing to do with loving Edomites. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But so with that, we're gonna go ahead and close out the class. We're gonna salute y'all, brothers. Oh man, the brother said something on here. I'll give him a call after class. Oh man, yeah, that brother did have a question. So, oh well, I'll get to it next time. All right, I just want to salute y'all. Y'all watching your shot, Thumb. To sisters, y'all watching my shot.